My name is Regan. That's me. I'm going to be talking about making an issue of the age issue. I am a creative director at McCann, London. I've been there for 4 years. Obviously, I'm not British, American, so I'm going to be super enthusiastic, and I really can't help myself because it's in my DNA, so I apologize. Also, when I get totally excited about a subject, I start to talk really fast, so you guys will be able to see my excitement as it goes, and eventually I'll just be doing cartwheels, but that's a good sign. We're talking about positively shifting the perception of age. I mean, who can't get jazzed up about that? I work mostly on L'Oreal. I'm actually 103. I just use the products every day. That stuff actually works. I'm also a yoga influencer. I stand on my hands. I'm on IG. If you guys want to follow me, Regan Warner. I'm just trying to get my numbers up. Come on, help a lady out. We need to start and talk about women before we talk about age, because we're some powerful people. We're the fastest demographic growing in the world today. 40% of us are over the age of 50. I'm going to say us. I'm 43, so I'm kind of getting close there. And by 2050, there will be 3.2 billion 50-plus-year-olds. A little fun fact to take away is next year, 55-year-olds will outnumber 5-year-olds. So that's a lot, right? It's a lot of people. We're power consumers. We outspend millennials and Gen Z, so why are we spending all our money on TikTok? Come on. These people have money to spend. They account for 47% of consumer spending. That's just in the UK, and it was in 2015, so it actually might be more now. They are dubbed by the financial world the gray pound. But I am from L'Oreal, and we're talking beauty. Let's say dazzling silver. I think that's better, right? Are brands missing a golden opportunity? Yes, that's right. I like colors, silver, gold. Wow, it's just jumping ahead, or I'm getting let's go back. We can't go back. Our brand's missing a golden opportunity. When's the last time you've seen a good ad with 55-year-olds? Never, right? This is what happens. We can't open jars, apparently. Bathtubs that will help you leave without getting killed. Pat Boone will tell you about that. Pharmaceuticals. This is the world of oldvertising. If you looked in the primetime landscape, we are non-existent. They don't drink, they don't drive. Apparently, old people don't exist. I don't know where they all go. I mean, is after Watershed, everyone goes to sleep, so why not advertise into them? So age discrimination is, in fact, an issue. Oh, it's there. Yay! I can see the next slide. It's so awesome. We all know this. Of course we know this, and it affects women more than it does men. All you men have permission to age. Women, not so much. I don't know why there is that. Men become silver foxes. Women, I don't know what happens to us. I think we need to dub a new phrase of what a woman happens. That's your brief for today. When I leave, everybody will tell me what you call women when they're over 50. Of course, L'Oreal has always believed every woman at every age is worth it, because you're worth it. It's been part of the DNA forever, since they began. They're the first beauty brand to create skincare for over 50 mature skin. It's called Age Perfect, and it's hugely successful. It makes up 30% of their business, not bad. First beauty brand to hire someone over the age of 50, that was Jane Fonda. That was 15 years ago, and she's 81 now. L'Oreal has believed that no matter what age, you're worth it. They've been pioneers in this. And as an agency, we wanted to make sure that we had a meaningful role in the lives of this generation. One of L'Oreal's, their meaningful role is to support all women on their journey to fulfill themselves according to their own rules and desires. And we know this changes from a 20-year-old to a 50-year-old, and we need to make sure that we're on that path with all those women and speaking their language. This is a video that kind of sums up our journey from start to finish. It's only 2 minutes, so I will go into more depth on how we made this all happen. I know my presentation is called Making Age a Non-Issue, but I think this project, like in its entirety, does that, but it also is making collaboration a non-issue, and I'll get more on that after you watch the video.
This is the story of collaboration. The more you look at fashion and beauty media coverage, the more you notice the same thing: youth. 40% of women are over 50, however only 15% are represented in the media. No wonder these women feel invisible. Age discrimination is an issue. L'Oréal Paris has always believed every woman is worth it, regardless of age. So we persuaded Vogue to do something they've never done before. Born from a Truth Central insight that inspired a 48-hour creative bootcamp in which 4 offices participated: Madrid, Bucharest, Paris, London, pitching 12 game-changing ideas and inviting the client to buy their favorite. They chose the non-issue. An entire issue of Vogue where every word, every image, and every page was dedicated to the belief that age should be a non-issue. From correspondent Christiane Amanpour to comedienne Jennifer Saunders, cover to cover, the non-issue challenged stereotypes.
What I love about this is not just that the models are over 50, the designers, the photographers, the makeup artists, everyone who contributed to this are over the age of 50.
From fashion and tech, beauty tips to advice about menopause, all normalized aging. In April 2019, 250,000 copies were distributed. 12 shoots, 24 interviews, 47 women, 111 photographs, 128 articles, created by 2 McCann offices, 7 nationalities, 9 creatives, 52 journeys, 74 edits, 101 opinions, 1 relentless WhatsApp group. With 19 million organic impressions, the non-issue was more successful than the September issue. Its positive message touched every generation, attracting more than 40,000 new readers in just 2 weeks. Our network gave L'Oréal Paris a meaningful role in women's lives and helped change perception of age for good.
From this page onwards, age discrimination ends.
Together, we can make anything a non-issue. One team, McCann.
Really? Not even a little clap? Come on, people. Bring it. So that was shoving it all down into 2 minutes to tell you the story. I'm just going to kind of break it down piece by piece, because that makes it look super easy, right? I mean, oh, it's London. We came up with an idea. We can do everything. Every region has its challenges, and we could not have done this by ourselves. This is a collaboration between London and Paris, and working within our network to make this happen. So it started with the L'Oréal hack. Everybody know what a hack is? It's like 2 days of crazy creative intensive where at the end you sell an idea to a client. You don't go crazy at all. Usually you try to come up with game-changing ideas. Sometimes you come up with traditional ideas that maybe are changing the way you look at them. So our brief was age perfect. Come up with something awesome. That's right, American. I'm throwing an awesome in there. There were 4 offices that participated: Madrid, Bucharest, Paris, oh my gosh, that font is wrong, London. And they chose, on the last day, the non-issue, the clients that were there. And these are kind of regional clients. They weren't the global brand clients yet. And this is our board that we actually brought to the hack. It's just, I thought it was nice to see the difference between like our final result and where the idea came from. And when you have an idea that's good and clean and simple from the start, sometimes the end result is very reminiscent from the beginning. I feel like that's success. So step 1, sold it to the clients there. Good, everyone's gangbusters, let's go. But then we have to sell it to the global brand president. We have to sell him an 80-page print campaign. I'm going to translate that: cash money. Cash money. And by the way, if you're going to use traditional, I say go big or go home, right? And this is where the collaboration between London and Paris came to fruition. London brought the idea, but Paris sold the idea, and they sold it to the global brand president at L'Oreal, and we're like, yay! Then the next hurdle, selling it to British Vogue, to this guy. Totally not intimidating at all, right? Looks like you could go in and have a cup of tea with him. And it wasn't an easy sell. If we think about Vogue, their print demographic is 35 years old. Their online demographic is 32-year-olds. We want to do a whole magazine that's geared toward 50+. Yeah, it'll work. And while we live in a fragmented media landscape, let's make it clear that print is not dead. Vogue still has enormous power influence in fashion, in what beauty is and isn't, in trends. There used to be a saying, and it was, if it's not in Vogue, it's not Vogue. They take themselves really seriously, as they should. Every day we're confronted with these visuals. They're staring us at, like, in our face every single day, and they're influencing our negative, conscious and unconscious bias toward older people. I mean, how often, other than like the random magazines that are geared toward grandmas with knitting, how many times do you see an older person on the cover of a magazine? We wanted to change this perception, change this idea that you have to be under 30 to be on the cover. Because Vogue isn't really a magazine. It's a rule maker, it's the opinion maker, it's a trailblazer, and we had to challenge the rule maker and change the perception of aging. And no brand has ever done this before. No brand's like, hey, dude, can I have your magazine cover to cover to basically talk about my brand mission? And that's exactly what L'Oreal wanted to do. And that's exactly what we did. We changed the rules. And we worked with Vogue on every point throughout. They were like amazing collaborators in the end. They let us work on editorial. They made sure like all the art direction was what we wanted. They didn't say this was their magazine. They said it was our magazine. We wanted to make sure that L'Oreal had its tone of voice throughout. With Vogue, they're telling you what to buy, what to wear. They're giving you their opinion. We wanted to make sure that we were having a conversation with them, because that's how L'Oreal speaks to our consumers. So our objective, to make an issue of the age issue, to spark a global conversation about age and ageism, and to use Age Perfect to inspire a positive message around aging. Aw, it started. So the non-issue, we wanted to make sure that this thing, cover to cover, permeated every aspect of what it is to be a modern 50-plus-year-old. And we wanted to make sure that everything challenged the stereotypes of what it is also to be that woman. And it was a huge undertaking. You saw it in the case study. It was 12 shoots, 24 interviews, 47 women, 111 photographs, and 128 articles. No easy feat. And if you looked at it from cover to cover, it looked exactly like a Vogue, obviously. It just happened to have this lens over it for 50+. The fashion and merchandise pages talked about iconic pieces that have worked like past decades and this decade. We had our Vogue beauty darling, Val Garland, who talked about her favorite beauty picks. Of course, there were some age-perfect products in there. There were stories about these 4 women who, at the age of 50, changed everything in their lives, from going to live on a commune to starting new adventures to handling just a couple bouts of cancer in there. Helen Mirren, she showed 5 beauty looks, and she talked about how makeup gives her confidence. We all assume that Helen Mirren has complete confidence, and she opened up and showed us a little bit more into her life. There was an article about menopause, which this is where I learned about premenopause, which is either happening right now or it's these lights, I'm not sure. They did it in a funny and thought-provoking way. Everything was done with this tone of voice that wasn't talking at you, what's going on, it's all bad news. It was having this conversation about these are the lives of these modern women. And then, of course, our cover darling, Jane Fonda, which is literally the coolest woman you've ever met in your life. She will kick your ass. I mean, the woman just got arrested for the 3rd time. Come on. She is our inspiration. She's our leader. She's what we should look forward to. But she talked about everything from cancer to husbands. So our results off that, we got 40,000 new readers in just 2 weeks. We got more coverage than the September issue with Rihanna. And after this, L'Oreal signed 2 new spokes, Celine Dion and then Viola Davis, which made their roster the same as the world. So 40% of their spokespeople are over the age of 50, which is pretty awesome. And just last week, Spanish non-issue came up. So we're going global with this message. Whilst London was doing kind of, let's say, the analog bits of this, Paris was taking over the digital world. We wanted to make sure that our message was permeating every piece of media that was out there. So they created a ton of pieces of content. I'm just going to play through a couple of them, mostly using Jane and Helen, of course, whether that was interviews or quotes or kind of whimsical moments that you could learn a little bit more about these women's lives.
Not all women develop a greater beauty when they get older. I don't think that it just happens. I think that you have to be very intentional and conscious about how you age. You are the agent of your life as an older woman. Very often when we're young, we don't have that. We're like amorphous, we're very porous. You can be very beautiful physically, but there's that agency lacking that comes with age, and that can add to beauty.
And then with Helen.
Oh, of course I'm worth it. Hot night. Sometimes put it away, actually. Yes, I think put it away.
We could see that Helen has a little bit more of a whimsy side to her. There's a couple more videos if you want to just keep the lights down. Vogue has a content series called In the Bag, which is basically you dump out your bag and see what's inside.
Hi, I'm Helen Mirren, and I'm going to show you what's in my bag. Quite respectable this time because I cleaned it out the other day. First of all, my phone, which I hardly ever answer. It's usually out of juice. My purse, you can see it's very old and very funky, but I love it because it's small. Very important, my coffee club card, and I get a free one every 10 coffees.
I think that point right there is like we all know that a free coffee tastes better than one you pay for. That's universal. And then the last one is Jane. She talks us a little
Sometimes
bit inside of her.
I carry fingerless gloves in my purse in case I'm driving so I don't get sunspots on my hands. Vanity, what can I say? I have a mirror.
Whilst we were doing that, Paris was also working with Facebook, and they created the first AR-enabled cover using their Messenger AR, which allowed our women to not only be seen inside the magazine, but allowed to have a voice. This happened a couple times throughout the magazine. There was one with Jane, and then Helen, and then there was a product page that came to life.
Age is a non-issue. It should be a non-issue when it comes to evaluating a person's worth, a person's level of wisdom or capability.
Years are wonderful. Years teach you so much. They develop you as a person, they educate you, and as a 60-year-old, you're not the person you were as a 30-year-old.
I promise this is the last video, though I do like tempting the guy, making him go up and down, the lights. So our digital results. Jane posted this, got over 100,000 likes, not bad. We had 2.1 million impressions on Instagram, over 500,000 video views. Organic online reach was 19 million. And actually, the thing that makes me most happy about this is we had 90% positive social mentions of L'Oréal Paris, which means 90% of the people talking about L'Oréal at a given time are saying something positive. And you're saying something positive about the brand, which in turn is making them talk about age, which is just like one little happy family of positiveness. And we know that that's a hard number to reach. Most people it only takes that one troll that comes in and brings the whole conversation down. But that didn't happen with this. I wanted to talk about how fast this process was. We're getting close to the end. Because whilst it seems like a huge adventure that maybe took a couple years, it started in September when we had the hack. And then at the end of September, it was presented to the global brand president. And then in November, it was presented to Vogue after a couple reworks. And then in January, we started working with Vogue to get it done. That's when the collaboration really took force. Basically, all the month of February was shooting. I mean, from top to, I just brought out the four biggest ones, but we just spent the whole month shooting the content. And I have total respect for people who work in editorial. You guys are mad, dude, every month, just creating all this content and putting it out. So we had our beauty shoot, we had Helen and Jane that were in LA back to back, and then we had a fashion shoot. And then after this the next month was just a month of collating all the content that was created to put in the magazine. In April, the magazine was printed and it came out. And as I said before, it got 40,000 new readers. And then we started seeding all the social stuff later in that month, so we had the conversation going as long as possible. And that brought us to this awesome moment in Cannes. Basically, the month before, in May, was creating a case study on something that had just got released and trying to get all the PR and stuff ready. No pressure at all. I didn't sleep the month of May. Worth it, because we won our gold at Cannes and a silver. And then we won, for Clio's, we won gold and silver also. I did just kind of want to highlight this, because this is the dream team. And this isn't everybody, obviously, this small segment of who made this possible. We have London, and we have Paris. We have some other peeps in there, Adrian and Carmen, if anybody knows those two rascals, they're amazing. And then next Monday, we find out if we have an LAA for this project. It has 4 shortlists, all fingers, all legs are crossed. So that brings me to the end, and this was a challenging project. It was starting a conversation about something that people are not talking about, or if they are, they're talking about it in the negative. And they say it takes a village to raise a child. I think it takes a village or a network to raise an idea. Because we had it's gone dark. We had 2 offices come together and put all their egos aside and say, like, we need to get this done, and we need to get this done together. It's a regional and then a brand office making things happen. And the reason it worked is because we had a client trust us, believe in us to make the impossible possible. And the reason it was successful is because if you have an idea that has a meaningful role in people's lives, it makes sense and success will follow. So I say to any challenges you want to put out there, like, go for them and work together. And don't worry about whose idea it was and who's finishing it up, because together everything gets better. That's all I got. Thank you.